Good morning, seniors. It's time for another video and some more notes. We're going to start Unit 4 today. Unit 4 is about the executive branch of government, which involves the president. But before we do, I want to show you something that Alex Ellison got me. Alex Ellison got me the gift that keeps on giving. It's a desk calendar with a daily joke on it. Here's today's joke. I asked people what this symbol means. Now they are divided. Here's just a couple of the better ones from last week when y'all weren't here. My friend David lost his ID. Now we call him Dave. Makes me think of David Neal and David Young. What word is always spelled wrong in a dictionary? Wrong. And here's another one I liked. The past, present, future walk into a bar. It was tense. So, Alex Ellison, thank you. We're going to enjoy this desk calendar. When we get back to school every day, we'll have us a joke of the day waiting on us, which is good. Get out your notebooks. I'll give you a second while you open up a notebook. Or, if you want to, you can type your notes in a Microsoft Word document. Either one is perfectly fine. But let's take a look at the screen here. This is Civics. Unit 4 notes, the executive branch. The executive branch. Now, Jessica Koch, I want you to think for a minute and tell me, what does the executive branch do? We've learned this already. That's right. It's the executive branch's job. It's the president's job of the United States to enforce or carry out the laws made by Congress and the legislative branch. And these are important things here. The president is the head of the executive branch in our country. And then lastly, the little point there that we're going to learn about in this unit too, underneath the president are 15 executive departments, and they run the country. The best way to think about that is our country is too big and too complex for one man to take care of everything. So he has 15 executive departments that are designed to help him carry out the laws and run our country. So remember, you can pause this at any time and get these notes down, but those are just a couple little tidbits there that we put in under the executive branch so you can remember them. Now, if we were in class, I'd like to activate your brain and go into think mode a little bit. What would be the first 3 things you would do if you were president? And if we were in class, I could have you write them down. We'd talk about them. I think I would try to lower gas prices, but that's just me. What would be the first 3 things you would do if you were president and you stepped into that Oval Office on that first day and sat down at the presidential desk? I don't know what those would be. I would like to talk to you about that when we get back in school on January the 19th, hopefully. So we may pose that question to you then. But I want to activate your brain a little further today with a story. So let me turn my screen around here. I'll tell you what, let's do something a little different. In your notes, I want you to take just a moment. And I want you to write down and think for a minute. You can pause this video, and I want you to write down the first 3 things you would do if you were president. And then that way, when I grade your notes, I can look at what you thought. I can look at what you said. What would be the first 3 things you would do if you were president? Pause this screen and think about it and write those things in your notes. All right, now we're back. Now I had to activate you with this little story. Have you ever been cheated out of money? Have you ever felt like you were cheated? One time I did. When I was a teenager, lived in Virginia, me and my friend, his name was Pete, we were looking for some work in the summer, and we just happened to know a guy who ran his own construction business. So he came to us one day and asked us if we were interested in roofing a house. He said he had a house that needed roofed. He said he would pay us $10 an hour, cash money under the table. And we were like, we're in, let's do it. $10 an hour to go roof a house. I needed some money, you know. I needed some gas money, needed some money to take my girl on a date to the movies. So we were like, let's do it. So he told us where to show up on the next morning, Monday morning, you know, show up there. And we showed up at the house. He pulled in. He gets out. He says, guys, I got some shovels and things up in the back of my truck. The ladder's back there. You guys have to go ahead and get up there and start tearing off those old shingles, and I'll go talk to the owner. So me and my buddy Pete get up on this roof, and we're tearing off these shingles. The boss man goes in and talks to the owner. After a little bit, the boss man comes back out. He says, fellas, he looks up on the roof at us. Fellas, I'm going over to Lowe's, and I'm going to get some supplies. Y'all just have all that, at least have this first side taken off for us by the time I get back. So he leaves. Me and Pete work like a dog getting all those shingles off. It's hot. It's starting to warm up. We're sweating. It's in the middle of the summer, and we're trying to drink water. And about noon, he pulls back in. And, of course, he has all of the supplies that we needed to roof the house, the shingles, the felt paper, the drip edge, and the nails and all that. So we climb down off the roof and help him unload his truck and get all those things set up. And he says, all right. He said, guys, I brought you a hamburger in there. Get you a hamburger from McDonald's, sit down under the tree and eat lunch. And so we did, and enjoyed the hamburger and enjoyed the little bit of shade we could get. So then we got back up to tear off the other side of the house's shingles. And he said, guys, I got a crew doing a concrete job down the road. The concrete truck's supposed to be there by 1 o'clock. I got to go down and check on that. I'll be back later. So he leaves and goes wherever it was he was going, and me and my buddy Pete climbed back on the roof, took the whole other side of those shingles off. Okay, so then he comes back a couple hours later, and he actually gets up on the roof. Me and Pete carry all the shingles up there. He lays out the first row of shingles down on that roof, make sure it's all right, and he said, all right, guys, you guys know how to run these shingles? Y'all keep running this side of the house and run these shingles. I have a crew working on a deck, and I'm going to go check on them. He leaves again. I think you're getting the point. It took us 3 full days to roof this house, okay? And the boss man was there sporadically just to check on things. Me and Pete roofed the house, okay? And we finally got done on that 3rd day in the evening. Man, we were exhausted. We were tired. The boss man pulls back in. He says, everything looking good? I said, it's all done. We're done. He said, well, hang on. I'm going to go in, talk to the owner, take her the bill, and we'll get the money. You guys pick up all the tools and put them back in my truck. So me and Pete were all excited, you know, payday. You know, we've had 30 hours on this roof. So if you can do the math, 30 hours times 10. Well, that's $300. Oh, yeah. Going to get me some 300 cash. Make it rain. So we're putting up all the tools, picking up all the trash, getting everything ready, and the boss man had left his hammer laying out there in the yard, so I picked up his hammer and went to lay it in the front seat of his truck. I saw a copy of the bill. Oh yeah, $3,000. That was parts, labor, materials, and labor. I started doing the math. I made 300. Pete made 300. 300 plus 300 equals 600 minus 3,000. That put me at 2,400. The materials were on that bill. Cost $1,200 for materials. Left $1,200. I started thinking about where that $1,200 was going. That's right, to the boss man. I felt cheated. I said, Pete, I just saw the bill in there. I said, the boss man's getting $1,200. I said, we're only getting 300 of it. I said, I feel cheated, man, because we did all the work. And I never will forget it. Pete just looked at me deadpan, straight face, and said, we're not getting cheated, man. Didn't we agree to work for $10 an hour? That was the agreement. He was right. So I learned a very valuable lesson in this. It's more important to be the boss man. You need to be the boss man. Always more money involved when you're the boss man. But boy, I felt cheated. But was I really? No. Think about it. The boss man owned the company. He probably paid some kind of liability insurance on workers. He had all the tools and equipment. So it was his business, I felt like I was cheated out of money, but really I wasn't. But at the time, I never will forget that feeling of being cheated. Maybe you've been cheated out of money before. It's not very fun when that happens to you. And the reason why I bring that story up to you is we're getting ready to learn about the President of the United States, the office, the position, okay? And when you learn about the presidential salary and what the president gets paid, is he cheated out of money? In a world where sports figures make millions and millions of dollars to play a game, is the president's salary shortchanged? Something to think about as we go through our notes today and learn about it. The first thing we're going to talk about in our notes is the qualifications to be a president. Now, you already learned the qualifications to be a U.S. Senator and to be in the U.S. House of Representatives in the last unit. And once again, just like that, remember, to be a U.S. Senator, you got to be at least 30 years old. You have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years, and you have to live in the state that you represent. To be a House of Delegates, to be in the House of Delegates, you have to be at least 25 years old, U.S. citizen for 7 years, and you have to live in the state that you represent. Those qualifications, we talked about that in the last unit, that's not very stringent qualifications in our Constitution to be a part of Congress. So, keeping with that theme a little bit, to be President of the United States, according to the United States, according to the United States Constitution, to be President of the United States, the qualifications aren't exactly that tough. They kind of fall in with the same line of qualifications that Congress has. So let's take our notebooks. I'm going to flip the screen around. And our essential question number 1 for this unit just flat out asks us this. EQ number 1, list the 3 qualifications to be president. Well, here they are, guys. They're not very much. Put these in your notes. You have to be 35 years old, a natural-born U.S. citizen, and you must be living here in the U.S. for at least 14 years. Now, let's talk about that. 35 years old, I guess you need to have a little bit of life experience. Natural-born U.S. citizens always in the news, when somebody's running for president, were they really born in the U.S.? But I'll just go ahead and tell you, the Supreme Court has expanded this part, natural-born citizen. Basically, they've watered it down enough to where it works like this. If your parents are Americans, it don't really matter where you're born. You can be born anywhere in the world, and you're considered an American citizen, as long as your parents are Americans. And you must live in the U.S. for 14 years before you can run for president, so that way you know what's going on in the country. Pause this screen if you need to. That's it. That's the only qualifications according to the United States Constitution to be president. You do not qualify to be president. You're not old enough. I do. Although a career in politics is not anything I want any part of. But I am old enough because I'm an old man. And we're going to have an assignment in this folder. You're going to find an assignment. And it's a short assignment, but it asks you this. If you could make a change to the United States Constitution with an amendment and add 3 more qualifications to be president, what qualifications would you add in there? You think the president ought to have a degree in law? Do you think he ought to have an administrative degree? What kind of degree? A master's degree? A bachelor's degree? I don't know. Do you think that the President of the United States should be qualified, that he has to serve in the military at some point in his life? What 3 things would you Change and add to the Constitution if you could add 3 more qualifications to be president. That makes you think a little bit. Be interested to see your answers on that assignment, but that's in the folder later on. All right, we're going to go to EQ number 2 now. This is an easy question. What's the term of office for the president? How long, if a president is elected, how long is his term for? You should know the answer to that. He's elected for a 4-year term. He serves for 4 years as president. President Trump is coming up on the end of his term. And we also learned about Amendment 22 earlier in a unit this year. Amendment 22, Amendment 22. The president can only serve 2 terms. Hope you got those down in your notes. Now we get to the part about the president being cheated in his salary. Okay? So this is the last essential question today. It says, what are the salary and benefits for the president? I told you about a time when I thought I was cheated out of money. I really wasn't, but I felt like it. Okay? What are the salary and benefits for the President of the United States? Well, let's take a look. Did you guys know that the presidential salary is only $400,000 per year? Now I know what you're saying. Only $400,000. Okay. I mean, I would be rich if I made $400,000, but unfortunately, I'm nowhere close. But when you think about LeBron James making $28 million a year to play basketball, when you think about all of these high-priced movie actors who get paid millions of dollars to make a movie, is the president cheated in his salary? Only $400,000 a year. Now remember, President Trump is a little bit of an anomaly. We've never really had a billionaire be president before. So President Trump actually, he didn't even need the money, and he said he would donate it back to the government. Whether he did or not, I don't know, but that's what he said. Obviously, he doesn't need $400,000. That's a $20 bill to him, but most presidents aren't billionaires. So, that's their salary they get, $400,000 a year. Now, I did some math, though, just to make it sound a little better. You ready? All right, let's take a look. That means for 4 years, he'll make $1.6 million. If he's lucky enough to be elected for 2 terms, an 8-year term, two 4-year terms, and serve as president for 8 years, he's going to make $3.2 million. Now, for some reason, that sounds a little better, don't it? Like in the NFL, when you see an NFL player sign a contract for, $25 million, it's a 5-year deal. He's going to make $25 million over 5 years. So you have to break that down, divide that by 5 to see how much he makes a year. But if you do the math, that's $1.6 million for the president in 4 years. If he serves 2 terms, $3.2 million. Sounds a little better that way. Now, if you also think about it, the president also gets a $50,000 tax-free allowance per year. That's not a typo. The president's tax-free allowance each year, on top of his $400,000 salary, is more money than I make. And his is tax-free. And believe me, I got to pay taxes on mine. The president gets full retirement after he serves. That's right. You work 4 years and get a retirement. I mean, I got 28 years in now. I'm going to have to work probably 35 years before I can retire. Maybe I should, maybe a career in politics is something I should think about. And lastly, he gets Secret Service protection for him and his family for lifetime. Bill Clinton, a former president of the United States, still has Secret Service protection for him and his family. George W. Bush, former president of the United States, still has Secret Service protection for him and his family. President Obama, former president of the United States still has Secret Service protection for him and his family. So these are some benefits that you get. Now, I also didn't write down a couple benefits that just kind of come to my mind. One of my biggest expenses in my life is a house mortgage. Well, the president, he may own a house in Florida or somewhere, but he lives in the White House for 4 years, 8 years if he has a 2-year term. So he's able to live in the White House for free. It has a staff there that cooks his meals, takes care of things for him. I got to spend a lot of time at my house cooking food, going to the grocery store, washing clothes. But the president has a staff that takes care of all that for him. It's pretty amazing, really. I remember when Trump took office, and this is going to happen January the 20th when we inaugurate President-elect Joe Biden. During the inauguration day, they have moving companies that will move everything of President Trump's out of the White House and everything of Joe Biden's stuff into the White House. They do it all in one day, and they get it all set up. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. I mean, I've helped people move, and it's a month process, and then even a month later, people are still living out of boxes, can't find anything. But, you know, the president has a group of people that take care of all of that in just a few hours. They move the old president out, the new president family in, and get it all set up. It's really kind of one of those behind-the-scene things on Inauguration Day that we don't talk about and no one knows about, but it's pretty amazing, really. But the president gets to live in the White House for free. There's no need for the president to ever. My other big expense is a truck payment. Yeah, you know, I gotta have. Every man has to have a truck. You know, I got me a Dodge Ram 1500, 5.7 Hemi. Oh yeah, every man has to have a truck. But think about the president. He don't need it. Anywhere he ever goes, the Secret Service is going to take him in a, you know, bulletproof SUV, you know, Yukon, Chevy Yukon, GMC Yukon or something. He even has, you know, Air Force One, you know, to travel in the plane. So when you're the president, you don't even need a truck payment. You know, your travel is going to be paid for you everywhere you go. So there's a lot of benefits, I guess, to being president of the United States. Now, with that being said, I would not want it. If you've ever looked at some of those pictures, I love looking at, take President Obama, for example. When he first took office, if you look at a picture of him then, he looked very young. And then after 8 years of being president of the United States, you look at that picture and you compare the two side by side, he's got a lot of gray hair going on. I think the stress of that position would just absolutely be overwhelming to me. I don't think I could take it. But the point is, I don't think I would want that job at all. But being the president of the United States does have some benefits. Now, there's another assignment in your folder that you're going to do. There's another short assignment that asks you, you know, is the president cheated out of his salary or not? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's fair to the president of the United States? So keep those things in mind when you go to that assignment and answer that. There's only one vocabulary word in this section of notes. It's the last thing we have to put in today. And I'm asking you if you guys can remember Amendment 25. Amendment 25. Olivia Bragg, are you out there? Let me see if I can see you. I don't see you, Olivia. Olivia, do you remember what Amendment 25 was? Let me give you a hint. 25 ducks in a row. I think I put a picture of all the little ducks lined up. That's right. Amendment 25 put into effect the presidential line of succession. If the president is out, it goes to the vice president. If the vice president is incapacitated, it goes to the Speaker of the House. If the Speaker of the House is incapacitated, it goes to the pro temp of the Senate. And then it goes down to the 15 executive department chairmen by order of their creation, which means the last one on the list is the Secretary of Homeland Defense, which was the last executive department added in 2001 after 9/11. Now, so the presidential line of succession is our vocabulary word for this one. Now, I'm not going to make you remember all 19 of those positions. You're not going to have to remember all 19 of those ducks in a row. But for the presidential line of succession in our test, we're going to put in the first 5. The president is at the top. If he's incapacitated or unable to serve, it's the vice president. Then it goes to the Speaker of the House, which at this point would be Nancy Pelosi. The pro temp of the Senate, I do not know yet with the new Senate in and the new Congress in. Be easy to look up, though. It goes to them. And then the Secretary of State. All of this will change on January the 20th when Joe Biden takes office, because we know that Joe Biden will be top, Vice President will be Kamala Harris, Speaker of the House will still remain Nancy Pelosi. Not sure about the pro temp of the Senate. And then it will go down to the Secretary of State, whoever Joe Biden appoints to that position for his cabinet. And then it carries on from there, like my arrows say, all the way down through the rest of the 15 executive departments by order of their creation. Make sure you pause that and get that down. President, Vice President, Speaker of the House, the pro temp of the Senate, Secretary of State, and then through the rest of the 15 executive departments. All right, that's going to finish up this video. Hope you took good notes. Hope to see all of you guys soon on January 19th. Until then, there are 3 very short assignments in Schoology in the Lesson 1 folder of Unit 4 to do. Get those done. It requires you to think just a little bit. It'll be interesting to see your answers. And don't forget, when you get back on January the 19th, like I told you guys at Christmas, I have this gift for all of you. It is your unique and valuable penny that you can have to always remind you how special each one of you are. So until January the 19th, unless the plan changes again, this is Coach Eads. Peace out, hang loose.